Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday, May the 13th, 2008 session in our series on entrepreneurship in Asian high-tech industries. We've looked at Vietnam last week. We looked at Japan several weeks ago. We have looked at student entrepreneurship across Asia. We have looked at, kind of my update of what was going on in Asia. For this week, I'm delighted that we can move on to an economy that has a very unusual position in Asia and that also has some unusual challenges that relate to its unusual position. We're talking about Taiwan and the kind of integration that's going on economically between Taiwan and the mainland, even as they maintain separate political systems. And the other thing that I'm really delighted about this week is we have one of the people to speak for us who's been with us for years in the audience, who has given many good questions to our speakers over the years, and who could speak equally in any of our three seminar series, right? The one on entrepreneurship, the technical survey series, or the one in the autumn that we have that's on management of technology. In fact, it was kind of hard to figure out what was the right time to ask Bevan to speak because, any one of these series would have been a good one. Dr. Bevan Wu has over 33 years of experience at IBM in applied research, product development, and manufacturing engineering. Of that, about 26 years he spent in management. He was in the first group of IBM staff who started up their semiconductor manufacturing operations in Fishkill, New York. He managed products in semiconductor product development, automated integrated circuit manufacturing systems, and also expert systems for manufacturing applications. He implemented the first IBM automated integrated circuit manufacturing system in 1973. Bevan changed jobs every few years in IBM, which is kind of normal up there, and took early retirement from IBM Research in Yorktown in 1992 and started his own consulting firm, BW and Associates. As a consultant, one of his first clients was TSMC and also YC and the Micro Integrated Circuits Research Lab, MIRL, inside ITRI in Taiwan. MIRL.
That's mechanical.
Mechanical. Okay.
Engineer. Yeah.
Okay. He led a team of engineers from ITRI to complete a manufacturing plant for Philips that was making color monitor cathode ray tubes. And he managed to get this plant off the ground from a green field to full operation in 16 months, which is really incredible in any day and era. He managed ITRI's Advanced Integrated Circuit Fabricator Design Project, and he has his own integrated circuit fabricator design process that was involved. And he's also had a startup company. He was CEO of Lexel Laser Incorporated in Fremont, and he's currently in a variety of advisory roles to ITRI, International USA, and also he's a member at large of SEMI, the Semiconductor Equipment and Manufacturing Institute International, that's what it is, North American Regional Standards Committee, and he's also advisor to SEMI's International Standards Committee. He's got his PhD from Stanford and also an MS and EE from Ohio State, and his BS in Electrical Engineering from National Taiwan University. I'm delighted that Bevan can come and speak with us today. Let me turn the floor over to you. I get to play with the slides while Bevan talks with the screen.
Well, thanks, Richard. Well, it's nice to talk about, Richard asking you to talk about entrepreneurship in Taiwan. And then I look at this, what can add to whatever you already heard of it. Since I was notified last week,
yeah,
and I don't have time to have my talk to be sanctioned by Taiwan, the institute. So I said, just don't have enough time. So Richard said, why don't you just talk about your own personal opinions? I said, fine. Okay, so that's why my first slide is a claim and disclaim. Okay, so therefore, it doesn't represent any official Taiwan position, nor of the Institute, nor from the seminar. Okay, all right, so let's go to the next one. So if you talk about entrepreneur, what's the definition of entrepreneur? So in my case, I would say, well, there's an old Chinese saying, if you want to have something successful, you have to be at the right time, at the right place, and you happen to be the right person. So therefore, over here, you see a person, and money suddenly is the blood to keep you going. However, the geographical and the cultural area, which is the location, very important. That's at least, I find that out, very important. And timing. If you're at the right time, fine, you make it. If you are not at the right time, no matter how good an opinion or idea you have, you may not succeed. Okay, next, please. Now, the culture and the entrepreneurship, it's quite important because many of people, especially the Americans, rush over going to Asia, and you think about everything written down in a paper, legally sound, and get a signature, everything done, right? Wrong. And so I divided the North American, of course USA is the representative example, then the Europe and Asian Pacific, because I've been assigned in IBM Germany for 1 year, IBM Japan for 1 year, so I had extensive contact with them. So that's how I come out with the 3 pictures. The United States, you see, nobody plays football like the US does, right? Why the US play that kind of football? You make a pass, a touchdown, how great. But can you imagine how many times you get intercepted? And if the pass not get received? But you take the risk. And you need a big place to play, so the football field is pretty big. So in the mentality here is you think big, and you take risk, and fast in speed-wise. In Europe, boy, they would love to ask, do you have a aristocratic title? You know, it would be nice if you're a baron or something, even though the time is way over, but have that still helps. And everything has a structure, organization. Therefore, it's pretty stable in a social kind of environment. Since the social environment is stable, therefore, people would take less risk. They don't want to play American football and make that kind of passing games. Then you come to the Asian Pacific. The Orientals have it a different way. You never figure out what they are thinking about. So I draw a circle. And also the circle is rolling pretty fast. So they can respond very fast. So that's, with this kind of a difference, you want to be entrepreneur, you better know how to fit into that kind of a place, culture, and at the right time. All right. Looks pretty good, but let's take another look. Detail. See that? In the U.S., there's all kinds. The West Coast behaves differently from East Coast. And Midwest is very stable, try to hold the both shores together. And look at Europe, right? The UK hates the French's guts, and the Germans don't like any of them. And yet, they have a Brussels set on top of it. Right? And then you look at Asia Pacific. Boy, it's all over the map. Okay? Each one have their own ideas. So by knowing all this, then you would appreciate how the entrepreneurs come up about in those areas and how they behave. What is their behavior? Next one, please. And in my case, I would put them, says, all right, suppose I put creating new market, take a risk, and risk averse, and how am I going to put those people on this map? And you can put other countries on this map, but this is my personal opinion. So therefore, the EU is very stable. They're creative, but they just can't catch up with Silicon Valley. And Japan, boy, they occupy many of their market, but it's a little bit slow, right? And Taiwan is very fast, but you don't see very huge Taiwan stuff come out. And the top 10 rich guys, I don't see any Taiwanese there. India's there. And the USA is pretty good, especially in the Silicon Valley area. I put them in that quadrant. Next, please. So what is a Taiwan entrepreneur? That's per my definition. It's a person, I'm sure a lot of people from Taiwan, you know that. They'd rather be a chicken's head, but don't want to be the tail of an ox. An ox tail actually is far heavier, bigger than a chicken head, but that's immaterial. So therefore, on the other hand, they are not like Steve Jobs or Bill Gates, who are the Ivy League dropouts. But most of the Taiwan entrepreneurs pretty much at least finish college. Okay, some of them at least the vocational school. So education, again, you see, that's the Oriental culture. Education is important. Whether that piece of paper hanging on the wall is valuable or meaningful, it doesn't matter. You need to get a degree. And one is who's always ready to catch up the opportunities. So the opportunity is always floating around you. If you don't catch it, you just don't get on the train. But you have to be ready to catch up. But they are very fast. Then who are mentally like a Viet Cong. It's a guerrilla warfare fighters. But they did some graduate study in West Point. Now, what's the difference between them? The Viet Congs can carry 2 or 3 days' rice and walk the whole night, and the Americans couldn't catch them, right? And then they occupy the place, fight first. Then the West Point will teach you, you need a communication network, you need the logistics, Bport, support everything. You studied, learned everything. The last thing you ask is, where is the enemy? Okay? So that's the difference. Therefore, the Taiwan entrepreneurs, they have some of those discipline, but not quite West Point graduates. But then they also have the guerrilla warfare fighters mentality to move very fast. So they adapt it. They import anything, right? From technology and everything, money, that's the best. So you can import. And they are almost like, if you know what kamikaze pilot is during those Second World War time, the Japanese one. But the Taiwan kamikaze pilot, they make 100 landings. In other words, if they don't find a very good aircraft carrier to hit at, they come back. Now, usually, the Japanese people said that when you take off, the wheel, the landing gears disappear. But if the Taiwanese pilot, they will find some way to defeat that. Okay? So they are very comfortable in the Taiwan business culture. And also that's another Taiwanese saying, when I went back to Taiwan as a consultant, and I learned a lot because obviously, I've been in this country so long. My culture clashes with theirs. And I learned. It said, I'm sure the Chinese, if you understand, 上有政策，下有对策. In other words, no matter what you have at the top, I will find some way. That's my description of the Taiwanese entrepreneurs. Okay, next one, please. And then the Germans asked me over there, said, how come the Taiwan's liquid crystal industry started so fast? We Germans started earlier than they did, but we couldn't catch up. How come? They asked me to give a talk. So I gave them a talk. But after giving them all the statistical numbers, things like that, they still don't believe it. They said, no, it's something else. I said, yes, you really want to know? I said, fine. It's the Taiwan's entrepreneurship spirit. Then they said, what is it? I said, okay. I said, have you been in Las Vegas? And how many Germans you see in Las Vegas on the gambling table? And if you want to find the Taiwanese, a lot of them. Okay? So they take risk, they gamble, and then if they want to catch the market, they will give you a price. They knew they couldn't make it at this time. But they give you first, grab the order, and have the market, and then make it, and make money. That's the difference. I said, you Germans had it too good. You have a good social system and safe, nice living. You don't want to take a risk. That's the problem. Okay? So next, please. Then let's talk about Taiwan's entrepreneurship and the VC situation. From the 86 to 2000 was really the glorious days. Okay? And the government at that time, because Taiwan was transferring from agricultural society into an industrial one. Then they want to import everything and fast. Nobody has the capital to do that. So the government started. So they have the money and get some private investment, get together. Then there's a lot of the expatriates go back to Taiwan at the time because the government actively come to U.S., Europe, everywhere to recruiting people go back. And at that time, we have a ex-AT&T club, about 150 plus more families. They are working here many years, but went back to Taiwan. And there's an ex-IBM club, more than 100 families. So a lot of these people went back. They bring back with their experience and their ideas, and they see there's an opportunity there to start a new business as an entrepreneur. As a matter of fact, the famous Hsinchu Science Park was actually two people used to be my colleagues back in IBM, East Fishkill, Dr. Irving Ho, and Dr. Tung, two of them. And then they worked on this Hsinchu Science Park. And that time, I went back first to take a look. Was just a few buildings, break the ground with a few buildings. But then the startups in the science park, 90% probably was started by these expatriates went back. So therefore, the government staged VC activities. Initiated the first phase, 1985, which was only a few of the new business started. Then 1991 has another wave, 1998 another wave, about 130 some startups. And then, of course, if you look at them, as time goes by, they move from semiconductor, optoelectronics, and then move to biotech. And the rest is history, okay? You already know UMC, TSMC, and all that. UMC is the first to spin off from the institute called ITRI, ITRI, the Industrial Technology Research Institute. So even ITRI, since ITRI have the spin off, he will get a certain percentage of the stocks of those startups. So therefore, ITRI itself has money. So ITRI itself started its own VC. It's called ITIC. And they use that money and look at good ideas and to invest into startups. And this is just to show you the complicated relationship with all this, how the R&D and government fund